Well, now let's turn to our special program that we do once a month called My Build. And this gives everybody on the show an opportunity to show a little bit of their modeling and take credit for what they're accomplishing. Well, Christos, as I said earlier, is traveling this week. So he's asked Greg Cassidy to take over for him. And Greg, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Well, as Chris would say, welcome to My Build, and this is featuring you. So before we start showing what we have for our build this month, the next My Build will be in September 2022. I don't know the date. I don't know if Chris does, but stay tuned.
September the 8th.
Aha. I've heard from above. It's September the 8th.
Hold it. It's September the 21st. I apologize.
Nope, breaking news. It's now September 23rd. All right. Chris put this slideshow together, so I'm just hosting it. My name's Greg Cassidy. Welcome to the show. Our first one up will be Martin Breckbill, who Chris tells me has been on a tank car kick. So Martin, go ahead.
Oh gosh, I barely remember these. Built them back in April. Seems like forever now. Let's see, this was, I don't know which one this is. Okay, yeah, I do. This one's basically a piece of plumbing with a lot of bits and bobs added to it. I think it was, let's say, oh gosh, Scale City Designs dome casting, which is rather nice and actually fits very cleanly right down on your piece of plumbing. So, you know, the plumbing aisle is a useful place to go in no scale. The ends, I think, were actually Max Gray or Lobau parts that I cut down and used. And I think the only thing that's holding it in place on that flat car are the actual 4 bands. I didn't actually secure this car, I think. There's a full underbody, and it's just basically a old-time tank car sitting on a flat car. But the bands are functional, and so are the side rods that run through the cradle. That really holds it all together. Oh, well, this one, I think some people have seen this before. This is a Lobau brass kit car from late 40s. I picked this up off eBay. Clearly someone had dropped it from a height. It had to have been from a height because these things are like, you know, about as solidly built as possible, but someone hit it just right on the concrete floor and popped the entire corner apart, popped one of the bands off of it, and I had to strip it all down to brass and bronze. Those cradle castings are actually bronze, they're not brass. The rest is brass. Soldered all back together. I had an extra fitting for luckily, these, I don't have a pointer. The bands actually are threaded. I think they're an 080 threaded fitting, and I just happen to have an extra pair of them. Yeah, so I had to resolder that back on and thread it through the frame and tighten it from a screw from underneath. Yeah, so there's actually tension on these things. And it's just a flat aluminum paint. It's amazingly how hard it is to find a rattle can of plain flat aluminum paint. You can find the metallic glow in the dark stuff anytime you want, but the plain flat stuff is hard. And I finally found some, and I had a Texaco set of decals laying about, which I found as soon as I tested a piece of it, immediately it fragmented into about 1 million pieces. So that had to get oversprayed. I don't know how old those, but the decals are probably the same vintage as the car. So there's a few upgrades on it and a few odds and ends I added, but basically it's pretty much the stock Lobau car from the late 40s. It only weighs about 3 pounds. Yes, another acetic acid car. I wanted to have a slightly different take. The other one wasn't a truss rod car. It had a nice big center sill in it. This one is a truss rod car with stakes on the sides and railings, another cradle. This one actually is secured with a screw through the bottom because there's nothing else there to hold it in place. And things derail, and I wouldn't want the tank to go rolling off and onto the floor. But it's basically another piece of plumbing, another dome from the Scale City Designs, and the ends of this one are actually 15 thousandths brass that I actually shaped over a form with a hammer and just pounded them until I got them to the right dome curvature, and they're secured with some glue and CA. The rivet strips are the old Walthers rivet strips, or the old copper ones, which, we're back into the, I don't know how far back in time those are. I have stainless steel ones, I have tin plated steel ones, then I have some copper ones. So I think the copper ones are ancient history. So yeah, that's three of the tank cars I've built the last 4 months. There's another one that I finished, which we don't have. I know there's no slide of it because it wasn't done. And I've got another one yet. It's an old IMP car, which is coming out surprisingly nice. So I'll save that for next month. Well,
So Martin, this probably brings you up to about 200, 300 tank cars on your layout?
God, no. There's, contrary to popular belief, my layout is very, very small. It's only about, it's an 11 by 16 room. You couldn't put 200 cars in there on the track. It's not physically possible.
All right. Any questions for Martin about his tank cars?
Yeah, what's the size of the plumbing that you use?
Oh God, I don't know. Well, it's got to be around. Let's see. Car's about 9 feet wide, so that's 2 1/4 inches. So something around 2 inches. So yeah, you go down the plumbing aisle, they have it all in different, they have racks in Home Depot, and actually have short pieces. You don't have to buy an 8-foot long piece if you don't want to. But I think actually this one may not have been plumbing. It may have been electrical conduit. And I did buy an 8 or 12-foot long piece of that because I figured, well, at that price, who knows how many tank cars I might make. At that point, they're cheap. It's a little bit of sheet brass, a couple of fittings here and there, and off you go. You're done. It's not a major expenditure. Yeah, the only fun thing here was drilling all the holes in the railings and getting them all aligned up. That was actually had to pause and think about it and made sure I actually measured things correctly. I actually measured things. Okay, it's a rarity, but
and we have it recorded now.
Yes,
so.
You can document that. It does happen.
Thank you, Martin.
Yep.
Moving on, next we have Bob Davidson, and Chris has told me he has a log house from the Haudenosaunee tribe. And Bob, are you there?
I am.
All right, if you could tell us about this.
Sure. This is, well, for those who don't know, my job is as an exhibit designer, and we recently did a museum called the Scanon Center of Peace in Syracuse. And part of that was I got to build a scale model of a 17th century longhouse. Fortunately, in the area, we have at the New York State Fair, there is an Indian village. And I was able to take a couple pictures here. If you go to the next one, I don't know if, yeah. So here's the interior. He kind of actually, the left is the actual longhouse. The right is the interior of the model. We can go to the next slide. So again, left is the actual longhouse. The right is the model. I wonder if he has some pictures. I said send him some in process.
He does. I think there's 4 more slides.
All right, let's go to, yeah, again, these are, again, left is, what, The interesting thing with this is it's all built out of natural material. So these are all plant-based. I went and found some, there we go. It's basically, it's 1/2-inch scale. So I built a baseboard, used some ballast to put down some ground initially. And then again, these are all twigs. I used fly fishing line to, everything is glued, but then I also tied everything at most of the joints. Put down the racks, which were used for sleeping and storage. And here you can see some more details of the actual structure of the longhouse. And then if you go to the next one, so now you can see what I used corn. Those are corn husks that I used.
Wow.
Cut them up. That's just using India ink and alcohol dye.